All right, I'm going to introduce you to our thoracic harness, or the chest harness. This we developed to challenge, the upright postures in many different ways, strengthen gait imbalances. Sometimes when you see people walk, the thoracic cage tends to drift to one side, things like that. So this is going to give you a number of anchoring points. You can use it as an assist harness or an acceleration training system. But how you put it together, it comes in two parts. You just clip it together and you create where it goes around the ribs. And then when you put this together, you are going to crisscross it over to the opposite side. The pelvic harness looks very much the same. However, it is different, but you don't crisscross them to go over the shoulders and things. So I'm going to show you this on the model, and when it's all set, you'll see exactly how it anchors onto them. All right, here is the chest harness all hooked up onto the patient. As you can see, what we did is we took it from one side to the other and crisscrossed it. Okay, go ahead and turn around for me. And what this is doing is it's giving us several anchoring points around the rib cage, over the shoulders. As you can see, we put rotational forces into the upper body, recruiting upper core muscles and different things. We can even go oblique. So if you do resistance here, you're going to be able to train the posterior obliques and the anterior obliques as well, depending on whether they're facing forward or backwards. So it's a very versatile piece. Metal D-rings on it, so it's going to be really strong, can hold up to a lot. So as you can imagine, we can use this not only in therapy and rehab, gait training, correcting gait, movement patterns. We can also use this for athletes. And we're going to give you some of those demonstrations right now. Okay, we're going to continue with our application of the chest harness with fall prevention and balance and different gait trainings. So what we're going to do is this is if you've done your movement screening or whatever it is you do to diagnose different movement deficiencies or structural deficiencies. And depending if that primary component is the head, maybe the thoracic cage or the pelvis, these different products are going to allow you to focus on those areas. So this would be more of if the lumbar extensors are really weak, the posterior oblique slings are weak, you can challenge them in a variety of different ways. So I'm just going to go through here and just show you some. We're going to, just like the headgear, we're going to go through multiplanar movements, some cross crawl activations, some daily activities, challenging the thoracic cage. If that is your primary place, if they're a hyperkyphotic or they're drifting to one side when they walk, this is going to be that application. So I'm going to go ahead and hook her up bilaterally. So we're going to be getting a symmetrical pull on her. Okay, so we're going to be recruiting the erector spinae to help straighten up that posture. You can add different movements to it. So right now we're just going to go ahead and have her work those extensors, the low back. And because it's the whole body, she's standing up, she is going to be activating the glutes. The glutes, new research is showing, are very important. The hip extensors are being found to be a big part of falls. So they're encouraging us to start doing hip extensor rehab for that. So this is great because we're incorporating the whole body, including those hip extensors, to maintain our balance and keep it up. So now what we're going to do is, because she's just doing the sagittal plane, real life happens multiplanar variable vector. So we're going to have her go ahead and take some steps to the side. And she can take a couple steps to the side, and that's an isometric type of a deal, maintain your balance. Somewhere over there, you could then tell them when they get to the end, go ahead and pull back, come back over, or you can have them just stay isometric as they move. The way I like to do it is have them move to one side isometrically, get to the middle, engage the erector spinae, go back, good, and there. That's how I tend to like to do it. So go ahead and come on back in. So now we can get more dynamic. If you really are trying to help somebody posture up and keep themselves centered when they do their squats. So if you're into CrossFit or any kind of fitness stuff, if they tend to always fall forward when they're squatting or something, this is challenging them. And so if they are going to stay forward and this is pulling on them, they got to sit back. It's going to train them to sit back. So go ahead, hands over your head and squat deep. If she doesn't keep her posture up, she's going to fall forward. So this is a great way. You can use this as a warm-up to kind of get those synapses firing to keep them standing up straight and being able to better perform their lifts, as well as it's a more correct way to squat down. So that'll be beneficial into daily activities. You can start doing some cross crawl or some lunging, opposite hand, opposite leg motion. So go ahead and step back for me. Go ahead and lunge forward with your left leg, raise your right hand. There you go, and down. Go ahead and swing. There you go, good. So we're challenging that as well. Now, we're just gonna keep going here. I'm gonna show you now how we challenge this obliquely, okay, adding a challenge. So if you have somebody who with gait drops a shoulder or walks, great way to actually work with that. So we will go ahead and just leave her right shoulder hooked up. So now, as you can see, turn and face the camera. Oh, the other way, sorry, back to the camera. As you can see, because I got her hooked up here, my force is coming right along this posterior, this oblique sling here from the left hip to the right shoulder. We're challenging that. So turn and face the post. Good. Now we can do the same thing. We can come out to the right. Good. Center. To the left. Good. And you can do any combination you want. Go ahead and challenge it. Experiment. So this is the type of thing, if you're doing a rotational stability test through whatever movement screening process that you use, there's a lot of different great movement screenings out there, so I'm not going to just pitch one or the other. But they all incorporate some type of a core rotational stability test. This is a great way to strengthen whichever oblique sling is weak. You can challenge the anterior slings by just turning them around and anchoring this in the opposite fashion. Now I can create more of an oblique angle by coming back here and anchoring further back. As you can see, I'm really getting more leverage and twist on her. And so go ahead and do an overhead hands up and squat down for me. So that's really unique because you're getting kind of an asymmetrical oblique pull from hip to shoulder. So great applications here. Going to improve balance, going to improve coordination, and going to train these patterns a lot more efficiently and in a whole new way. All right, another application, we're going to be using the Plyo Boxes to assist with some daily activities, challenging this thoracic cage. Again, this is for somebody who has the really rounded shoulders, or they typically are standing way out in front with a really strong forward lean. When we try to pull them further, their body, the neurological response is to fight it. And so we're actually getting all those opposite muscles firing all down, up the posterior chain. So go ahead and climb the stairs. So now we're adding this component to this. Again, it's not just statics. We're going dynamic. We're applying these deficiencies into their daily life, daily activities of climbing stairs. As the neurological component of this is so important. It's one thing to stand on a static platform in a static setting, braced up against something, working your erector spinae or whatever you want to work, and then when they go dynamic, they break down again because you've only been training them for statics. You've got to engage these multiplanar variable vector resistances. So we're going to have her take a step to the right and to the left, all the way over, back to the middle. Go ahead and give me a squat. And I'm not going to argue about how to coach a squat, but what I want to do when they do this is me personally, I'm going to make sure that she's got her feet evenly spaced, that this is not dominating her, that she's keeping that torso in line with the shins. That's how I like to coach it. I'm not going to argue that. Everybody go ahead and do your squat. It's awesome. So go ahead and get down there, hands up. Don't let, now you're leaning too far back. You're letting this wind too much. Go ahead and let it come forward, come forward. Match your torso to your shin. A little more. There we go. Good. Now up. Do that one more time. I want to see a good clean one. Good. Okay, up and climb the stairs. So we're wearing her out today. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge her obliquely, asymmetrically. Okay, I'm going to actually hook this up a little bit further back. There you go. Okay, now climb. Good. How does that feel? So again, now you're challenging their balance even further, but you're challenging a system of muscles that they use to maintain their balance in that oblique sling. Now you're asymmetrical, but you're training something that's important. So again, if you did your rotational stability movement screening, whichever one that is, you're going to have a particular side of that oblique sling that you're going to want to strengthen. You can do that with this piece of equipment. You just apply it to whichever side you need to do. All right, moving further into our multiplanar variable vector type application for fall prevention. We've set up a little obstacle here with the hurdles like we've been doing with all the other equipment. One thing that we're going to do is, because when we use this piece, it's more targeted towards the thoracic cage or the rib cage being your predominantly weak area, or the cause of some people call it the primary. And so we're not too much concerned about that head necessarily, so we can have a situation where they can look down a little bit. So I'm just going to show you some application with the ladders. The hurdles are high enough that you can catch those at our periphery, so you can have them keep their head and their eyes to the horizon, which is the way I prefer to do it. But go ahead and start weaving through. So just as we've done with the headgear and our other pieces, as you can see, I've got 2 of these on her, and it's tough. But we're working with hip extensors, erector spinae. We're working with some pretty strong muscles, so that's okay. We can also go asymmetrical with her, wearing her out pretty good. And you can go a lot lighter. We do have lighter elastics than this. But as you can see, she's able to weave through it. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and stand right there. We're going to remove the hurdles. Okay, now we're going to go through just really basic stuff. If you're familiar with a ladder, knock yourself out. Do all the different fancy things if you'd like. For me, most of the time I'm working in the clinical setting. So for me, kind of simple is better because I can better gauge the patient. So go ahead and step back. We're just going to have her 1 foot in, 1 foot out, moving laterally while we're challenging this posture, okay? Again, we're really focused on this posture thing because, as I'll have put a link to this in our comment section or wherever we may place the link, you know, slumped postures, forward head posture is linked to increased risk of falling in the elderly. So this is a great application for this. And you can challenge them for coordination, footwork, and strengthening their postures. Now, as they do this, again, as I always like to do, whenever possible, I like to give them a little asymmetrical stress. So I'm going to go ahead and take that one off, and I'm actually going to leverage this one a little more, challenging that posterior oblique sling on that side. And again, you can do both sides doing the asymmetrical thing if you choose. It's not just one side or the other. You can have them do a couple of reps back and forth with it on this oblique sling and then switch it to the other and have them do a few more. So great application, unique challenge. Again, it's all about moving through multiple planes, getting different forces acting on the body through these different planes, because that's more true to life than just working in our static environments through one plane of motion.